Well, I can honestly say it's the first time I've seen Winston Churchill's picture under the bonnet of a car. Welcome to Lot 76 Cars. My name's Simon and welcome to the Ford National Show at the British Motor Museum. Some fabulous Fords here today, like the Lotus Cortinas behind me. Let's have a walk around, let's see what else there is here today. So first up, this fabulous Fiesta Mark II. Mark II had this front hinged bonnet. This one's a gear. It's got those aftermarket Ford lamps at the front. The gear had the two-tone body, so that dark lower band, and of course, being a gear, it has a sunroof as well, and it even has a wash wipe, so it's a bit better than the Ford Popular Plus 950 that I used to run around in. What a fabulous car. It's in great condition. So this fabulous Ford Capri 1.6 Cabaret is one of 10 left on the road. The owner has rebuilt it. In actual fact, we'll take a look at the damage the car sustained. He was hit by a drunk driver and he's actually built the car back from that. That is incredible, but you can take a look here. Let's just have a look at the mirrors underneath and look at the condition of the floor pan. That is absolutely fabulous. Now, this car I think has been in the pride of ownership section at the Lancaster show. I think I remember it from last year, but it is absolutely stunningly prepared, isn't it? So introduced in 1962, the Lotus version of the Cortina landed in 63 with the Kent engine with the Lotus Vectrin twin cam engine, and giving it considerably more power. The original cars were actually badged as Consul, so you might see some of these with Consul. Had a fabulous racing career in touring car racing, driven by such famous drivers as Jim Clark. Like all of these here, this is in stunning condition. This looks like it's got the full Webasto sunroof, and of course the all-important green flash, and there's a few of them here today. What a stunner, what a stunner. So this is the car probably always that we wanted, certainly I did. It's a Moonstone Blue Sierra RS Cosworth, not the later 500. I think these had about 220 brakes, so not a lot by today's standards, but pretty quick in the day. A lot of these bit the dust, they were stolen or whatever, but this one survived really well, and it's in absolutely stunning condition. Beautiful, isn't it? Mark, tell us about this fabulous Moonstone RS Cosworths, because they're not that common these days, particularly in this colour, are they?
No, not very as much nowadays, no.
And you've had this quite a while?
3 years.
And what about the standard? I mean, it's immaculate now, but how is it compared to when you got it? You've done lots to it?
No, it was fully restored when I got it, but I've just had a full Graham Good engine rebuild, which was £12,000, and
wow.
A Simpson race exhaust on it.
What sort of power does it give? What stock? They were about 220 stock?
No, it's 320. This one is.
Wow. Okay. So quite a difference compared to a standard car.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, fabulous. And you've got a few other Cosworths in the collection as well. You're a bit of a fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got an Escort Cosworth as well. That's just standard on the last one that they done in 1996.
Oh, fabulous. Well, thank you for talking to us. Thanks very much.
All right.
So the Mark III Granada, introduced I think in 84, was the first production car to be fitted with ABS. You might remember the advertisement with one of these barreling down a country road and avoiding very narrowly a tractor with the benefit of its ABS. This one is the higher trim level. It's probably the highest you could have at the time. It's a Scorpio, so it's got full leather interior, may well have air conditioning as well. Lovely chestnut brown colour, those factory sunroofs. Really useful car, and I was amazed certainly back in the day how much legroom these had in them. So this was the last Granada. There was no Mark IV. I suppose you can, if you discount the saloon that followed this, I think was eventually rebadged Scorpio. This is a beautiful example, isn't it? So to celebrate the 40th birthday of the Fiesta, Ford produced these special edition Zetec S's. Now, one of the features was the paint finish. I think there was this lime green, yellow, and I think there was also a red one. They're reasonably rare these days. Some of them have been modded, some of them are no longer with us. It's got that checked roof. Yeah, it came out of the factory with a checked roof like that. It's got the some different trim inside the vehicle. I don't know if you can pick that up there on camera. It's got the colour-coded trim, rear spoiler, and despite the fact that somebody's done them themselves, in actual fact, with a few mods, it's a standard Ford of the period. Quite a reasonably rare car these days. So the Ford Orion of the period gave Ford the opportunity to compete with cars like, I think it was the Jetta. This in actual fact is the gear version. I think it's the non-injector gear, I'm not sure about that. It's got the red highlights in there, got that stunning interior, stunning condition interior, absolutely. We all recognise that from Escorts and Orions of the period. I'm not sure what the colour is on this one. Stick it in the comments if you know, unless I find out and I put it on screen. Massive boot with these cars. I had I think both a gear and of this period a C registered gear. Lovely, isn't it? And you can see the difference on the tail lights. I'm not sure if that was unique to the gear. You see the striping, the black striping on the tail lights and that central panel. I think pretty much that was restricted to the gear derivatives. Nevertheless, lovely car, isn't it? Becky, tell us about this Orion. I thought it was a non-injector, but it's an injector one, isn't it?
It is. It's a 1.6 injection MFI.
And you've had it fully restored?
Yeah, I've had the paint, full paint, engine work. It's only been back on the road for about a year.
Oh wow! So, and the colour you said is Tasman blue?
Mineral blue.
Mineral blue, sorry. Yeah. Mineral blue, I was trying to work out what that is. And you've got more than one car here, or you've...
Yeah, this is the only car of mine here, but I think we've got about 31 Orions here.
And today. I guess there can't be too many pre-facelift sort of Mark 1 Orions.
No.
There can't be too many about, can there?
Yeah.
What do you think in...
I don't know, I mean, we've only got sort of 5 here, so...
Oh, fabulous. Have you come far today? In it?
Portsmouth.
Okay, well, that's quite a trek. It's further than me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you for talking to us about the car.
Problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've just been told the club here today is celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Orion. Can it really be 40 years? And what better way to celebrate than at the Ford National Show? Another Mark 1 here. Now look at this one. You're not going to see this one every day. It is a very fabulous RS Escort creation, but clothed in an Orion body, and that is so faithful to the Escorts in terms of the styling. I'm not sure what it's got. The 1.6 Zetec engine, in fact it's been upgraded. Oh, somebody's done a great job with that one, haven't they? That's great. Paul, tell us about this RS Orion. I've never seen one before. Is it unique?
It's the only one in the country.
Wow. And so, I mean, the level of finish you've got and the attention to detail. I thought it was a factory-produced car. I mean, it's in stunning condition, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been on the road for a year as it is, but only obviously gets used in the summer.
Right.
It's parked up in the winter.
So it's got it's got a Zetec engine in it.
It's 1.8 Zetec. It's not running a turbo, unfortunately, at the moment.
Right.
It's probably kicking out around about the same brake horsepower as a standard RS Turbo Series 1, about 135 brake horsepower.
So what made you create the car that they never built?
Because nobody else had done one.
Well,
so
that's a good reason, isn't it?
Escort vans done, I've seen Escort combis, there's Escort Estates done with that body kit on, but I've never ever seen an Orion with one on, so that's where
You must massively turn heads with this, it's so special. And how long did it take you to recreate this?
If you're 16 months.
Wow.
From it being it started off originally as a Caspian Blue Ford Orion 1.6 GL, which was in quite remarkable good condition from the get-go, and that's why I'd spent the time and the money on it, because it was a really good shell. And if it had been a gear, I probably would have put it back to standard.
Okay. There's not a lot to lose,
but from a GL, yeah. So I mean, but like the other cars that's here are all gears, so with it just being a GL model, as thought, you know, nobody else has done one of these before, so
Thank you for
it was a good.
So built as a warmish version of the Fiesta Mark 1 was this Super Sport, which I think was built just before the vehicle was facelifted, with a 1.3 engine, sport suspension and a special trim inside. These are rarer than XR2s of the period, but I am drawn to the car next to it. Now, am I wrong or not, but this is a stunner, isn't it? What a stunner. So it is a far rarer T-registered, what would that make it, 1979 Fiesta Ghia. That colour is amazing. I will have to delve in the back catalogue to put that on screen as to what that is, because I can't remember. I just love it. Love those period spots. Let's have a look inside the vehicle as well. The owner's very kindly left it open. That cloth trim. Being the Ghia, it's got a dash of wood on the dash there. I've still got wind up keep fit windows. Got a sunroof. Not sure if that looks like it might even be a factory sunroof, to be honest with you. Still got the original Bristol Street Motors badge in the back. Isn't that an absolute beauty? So we've got another Mark 1. I think this is probably a GL, looking at the badging, subtly modified with some wider steels. And then probably about, I think about 82, it got a facelift. You see the Fiesta Ghia here's got the bigger bumper bars in this light gold colour. Looking pretty stock with those small alloys from the period. That stripe along the side. That's a beauty, isn't it, that one? Dave, tell us about this Fiesta Mark 1. It's a facelift car, isn't it? 182?
83, yeah. It's
Okay.
it's January 17th, 83, so it's right at the end of the Mark 1s. Yeah, it's the 1300 Ghia, yeah, I've had it a couple of years now.
It's a pretty stock car, looking at it. The
Very.
alloys, the stripes.
Yes, yeah, very. I've not changed pretty well anything. It's all pretty well stock. All the engines original, everything. Yeah.
And what work have you done to it? Because it's immaculate, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad condition when I got it, but it did need a fair bit. So it was a matter of tidy up some bits and other bits work. There's a bit of rust here and there, a bit of welding to do, but generally it's been mechanical. And a little bit of body work, but other than that, it was in good condition, really.
And what made you buy a Fiesta of this era? You had one?
Yeah,
Or you,
I grew up with them. My first car was a 1100L, and then I went from there to a 1100 GL, Mark 1, and then I went to other Fiestas, went to a Mark 2 XR2, like you do when you get a bit older. But I love the original Fiestas. They were just great fun little cars to drive. Really enjoyed them.
Oh, fabulous. Well, thank you for talking to us about it.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So top of the Escort pops in 1980 was the Ghia. So you can see the Ghia by this time had gained these square headlamps. I'm not sure if they were common to this era of facelifted Mark II Escorts. I'll have to scratch my head a bit more over that one. What a beautiful colour. This one looks like it's got modified, slight modifications. It's got those Mini-Lite style wheels, got the spot lamps, I believe probably tinted glass. Can't quite see the interior because it's not open, but look at that biscuit coloured interior, flash of wood and a Ghia badge on there. Wow, a vinyl roof completes the picture. Who would not want one of these? And you can see why Mark IIs are so sought after, particularly in this condition. This 1.6 Ghia is beautiful. So jumping a bit later to the Fiesta's life is this so-called Mark II. I mean, recognisably the pressings for the bonnet have changed. It's a forward hinge bonnet by this time. It does remind me of the one I had. This is what, an 88, 89, not so long before the replacement with the Mark III car. And they've also changed at this stage, they've changed the pressing on the hatchback and the indentation that's on the side. That styling line goes now all the way around the car by this time, but relatively subtle enhancements to keep the car fresh. So this four-door GT Airflow Cortina has an interesting history. So it's badged up Lotus now, but the owner, or the first owner of this car, wrote off the Lotus Cortina version he had and then simply swapped the bits over, so it's I guess period correct. What a stunning car inside, great that colour scheme, and again, you know, sometimes it's the car that they never produced. It's an airflow car, so you'll see that the better ventilation is reflected by these vents in the C-pillar, which the original Mark 1s didn't have. And it's got this lovely Lotus stripes on the vehicle as well. It looks like it might have seen a bit of racing action at Goodwood. What a lovely car. What a great period creation, not recreation, isn't it? So the Mark 1 Cortina, like this, was designed by a guy called Roy Brown. Now, his previous design had seen him sort of excommunicated from Ford and banished to the UK because he designed the Edsel, which was an absolutely commercial disaster. The code name for the Mark 1 Cortina was Archbishop, bizarrely, and the original cars, as I might mention somewhere else in the video, were actually badged as Consul Cortina, and then the Consul name was eventually dropped in favour of just Cortina. This, as I mentioned, is an airflow car with those additional vents. What a beautiful, beautiful GT this is. It's got the dials I can see in the dashboard, the additional dials, lovely condition. So this second generation XR2 was based on the facelifted car with the wider body kit. The pepper pot alloys were an option. It actually came with the steel trims with covers. I haven't seen one of those for years, and I can imagine those steel trims are pretty rare these days. Insurance on these back in the days, I know to my cost, was absolutely horrific. 1.6 engine, obviously by this stage I don't think they were injected until much later on with the XR2i, but nevertheless all of us wanted one of these in the period. Well, I did anyway, but I didn't quite manage it. I got as far as a 950 pot plus. That insurance was a killer, wasn't it? Beautiful. So this is one of the later iterations of the Ford Fiesta. Hadn't changed a lot by this time, but had input from Richard Parry Jones, I believe. These handle exceptionally well. This is a gear. The family that own it are the second owners. I don't know what the colour is, we're not quite sure about that one, so put that in the comments, but in this sort of magenta purple colour, it really, really pops here. Hasn't had a great deal of work on it, but it's an absolute stunner. It's standard cars like this that are just so rare and didn't get saved, did they? God, that's a lovely colour. So we're going to have a chat with the owner of this fabulous Lotus Cortina. What's a D66 maybe? I know it's been off the road and had a massive recommissioning. What a stunning car. Beautiful condition. That Lotus headed Kent engine, 1600cc. Stunning, those wide steel wheels, so of its time and understandably so desirable. So let's try and find out a bit more about it. Tim, tell us about this Lotus Cortina, because I know there's a lot of subtle differences. They're not all the same, the Mark 1s, are they?
Well, over 60 years they've changed a little bit. We tried our best to keep it original. The car was restored 22 years ago. The car was very original and never been messed around too much with, except that it desperately needed restoring. And we tried our best to keep everything as original as possible. We were just having a discussion there about the colour of the front brackets.
Wow, attention to detail. Is this in what they call the A-frame suspension cars, the early ones?
Yeah, the early ones was A-frame, and mine is the late one, which is the 1966. Which is the springs.
And you've restored it. I'll cut in some pictures. I've got some pictures of the restoration.
Yeah.
That looked like it was sort of found in a field or something, was it? Or
it was found in a barn, in a hay barn that had been off the road for 16 years, rusting away, and we restored it, and we haven't done anything. This is 22 years ago, and we haven't done anything to it since.
Wow, well, it's a credit to you. Well, thank you for talking to us about it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, lovely. Cheers.
So this is a Ford Escort RS 2000, but what's unusual about this car, it's got the it's in a Tuscan beige trim. Now, I don't think it's a recreation. I think Tuscan Beige was available, but not too many people ticked that box on the order chart, did they? I don't think so. So I hope you've enjoyed the cars and owner interviews that we've had so far during the video. We've only covered probably about a third of the show. There's a fair bit more walking and quite a lot more cars to see, so stay with us, and some more good stuff to come. Good Lord, somebody's brought a Fiesta Batmobile. Wow. So this is the facelifted RS Turbo. I think ABS became available from this generation of Escort. It's got that body kit, the revised front nose that the Mark III didn't have. Fabulous Recaro interior. Factory roof, which we all wanted. That was a desirable option on the list. And again, this is from deplated, what, 86? That's getting pretty rare these days, I would have thought. So this is the Ferrera XR3, not the I. The XR3 was produced for a relatively short period of time at the beginning of the life, with carburetors instead of I think Bosch injection, those telephone dial wheels which I think continue for a little while afterwards. That fabulous, I don't know if you can see it on camera, that fabulous laser trim of a Soviet's time, isn't it? Beautiful condition. We'll try and have a look inside it if we can. And I think this might be something like Sunburst Red or something like that. Beautiful condition, often overlooked in favour of the injection, but a far rarer car now. Now, coming up for the Millennium, Ford produced the Millennium Edition, these yellow vehicles. This was applied to the Focus, to the Puma, at least. I'm not sure if it actually was on the Fiesta as well, but certainly this is a relatively rare car now if you look at how many left, and there's not so many of those on the road. Obviously, it's the major modification was the leather interior and the yellow paint, and this one's relatively modified. Looks like it's got some ST170 wheels, I think. So this one's got a 2.1 litre Cosworth engine in, this RS 2000, or 2000 and a bit to be precise now, in beautiful condition again. Got those tiny RS wheels on it, and worth incredible amounts of money, but I'm sure it's the more the ownership of these cars and what they're worth that's the attraction. Some beautifully prepared cars here today. This RS in, I think, Mount Tune Performance enhanced trim. Wow, there's a lot of work going on with that particular car. That looks a stunner, doesn't it? So next, often overlooked, is the Focus ST170, available in 3-door and 5-door versions, so quite a practical car, sitting underneath the Cosworth of the period and a lot more accessible. But these, I am told, drive extremely well, and you know, they may well be the Ford collector's car of the future. You know, if you can't quite get into a Cosworth Mark I Focus, maybe this is the answer. So we're going to have a chat with the owner about this Mark VI Futura. Yeah, you spotted it right, it's got Dutch plates on it. Yeah, it's come all the way from the Netherlands. So let's find out the attraction of the Fiesta and come into this show. What a fabulous car. Melissa, you've had a longer journey than most to come to this fabulous Ford Nationals event. Where have you come from?
Near Amsterdam.
Oh, near Amsterdam, so even further north, right, okay.
Yes.
So how long did that take you?
4 hours to the boat. No, not the boat, the train. I got the train. Then I went from Calais to Heathrow, I think.
Okay.
And then how long did it take?
How
I
long
also was in a traffic jam, but
yeah,
I think
too
it
long
took
to
me
remember.
12, 13 hours.
So how long have you had your Fiesta then?
Almost a year.
So what's the attraction of the Fiesta? Why a Mark VI Fiesta?
It's a family thing. My dad's first car was a Ford Escort, and he also had 3 older Fiestas, Mark II, Mark III, and I actually began with the Mark III, but it was so rusty and the gearbox was pretty expensive to, how do I say that?
Yeah, to repair.
To repair. So I had to get it, give it away or something. So then I got this one for 1,500 euros.
Okay, that doesn't sound a lot. Even if you convert that to
No.
pounds, it's even better. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a pretty good buy. Not many, miles, kilometers on it, and I just fell in love with it because it's such an easy car. And my boyfriend has a sports car, and I wanted a comfort car, and then I got this one.
Excellent. Well, that's as good a reason as any. Well, thank you for talking to us. Thanks
You're
very much.
welcome.
So this is probably maybe the next big thing in terms of Fords. It's the Fiesta Mark 6 ST. It's not the ST 150 as it's commonly referred to, but yeah, it's got 150 brake horsepower or PS, depending how precise you want to be. Available in a number of colours. This one's got the striping that was not fitted to all vehicles. And quite honestly, you've got all the benefits of having a relatively modern car in terms of ABS. Many have got air conditioning, I would imagine, but a far more attainable vehicle than the earlier Fiestas in terms of pricing at the moment. Yeah, you heard it here first. The ST or ST 150 could be the next big thing. So often overlooked and relatively rare these days is this Fiesta 1.6S. It's sat beneath the XR2i. It had gained injection from this generation, but the S was the warm hatch version, so it's got those steel wheels with covers on them. This particular vehicle's in fabulous condition, isn't it? And again, you're going to see far more XR2i's, and they're hardly thick on the ground, are they? What a fabulous car. Jordan, tell us about this fabulous 1.6S. So this is far rarer than any XR2i, isn't it? What drew you to this car?
It certainly is. Well, I found out about it through mutual friends, and it's stashed away for about 14 years, just left alone. It was missing loads of bits, so we didn't realise it was actually a 1600 Sport till we started diving into it a bit more, and then I started gathering bits to get it back to how it sort of should. So yeah.
And how much work have you had to do to it? Was it sort
quite
of
a lot?
rusty?
It's not bad rust work. There is a few bits I need to address, but it's more like mechanical. It wasn't running properly, so I've stripped all the engine, rebuilt it, all fresh gaskets, everything. Spotlights were missing, bumper overriders were missing, wheels and trims were missing. So just loads of bits were missing, and it's taken a couple of years to get it all together to get it to how it is.
How many 1.6S's do you think are left? There can't be many.
I went to a Mark III gathering a couple of years when I first got it back on the road, and someone was telling me they reckon there's probably like 10 of this specific model left.
Wow.
How true it is, I don't know.
And probably a lot more XR2i's, and even they're not that
that's correct.
thick on the ground, are they?
That's right. So yeah, it's a lovely little thing. I take it everywhere. It's no garage green. I drive it everywhere. So I enjoy
fabulous.
it.
Well, thank you for talking to us about
No
it.
worries,
Thanks very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Here
So only at a show like this do you realise how long it is since you've seen something. So yes, it's an Escort Mark III van from 82, 83. It's in fabulous condition in actual fact. So I'm not sure whether it's been restored. I suspect it may be. The owner's very helpfully left the vehicle open, so we can see that typical Mark III dash. Lovely cloth seats. I'm not sure if they were cloth or originally just vinyl. Really useful vehicle to have. Again, commercial vehicles don't survive so well because of the uses they have is pretty heavy, but this one has, and whoever's got it has done an absolutely stunning job with getting the vehicle to this condition. Wow, that's probably one of the most special things I've seen today. So with the later 1.8 diesel engine, this Escort van is the facelifted one. I'm not sure this technically was called the Mark IV Escort or not. It's got that, like the other van we've just seen, the sort of window just behind the driver's head, which is handy for over the shoulder vision. And it's got the different front styling. You can see better here, the styling with the front bonnet compared with the earlier iteration of it. Lovely to see a couple of vans here today as well. Fabulous. Built for Ford by Pininfarina was the Ford Focus CC Coupe Cabriolet. So Coupe Cabriolets with folding hardtop roof were a bit of a thing back in the day, and this is Ford's variation. So as I said, built by the guys at Pininfarina, who did low volume production for a number of manufacturers. There is a bit of space in the back, not for people with people particularly tall. Recognisable Focus cabin there, fabulous. Clearly on a day like today, a convertible is really the car to have on a very sunny Midlands day in June. And there we've got, conveniently by the side of it, the same vehicle with the hardtop fully deployed. So a really useful car, and they must be getting relatively rare. There's quite a few here today, but maybe these will be one to watch for the future, I don't know. So I think celebrating its 30th birthday pretty soon is the Mondeo. People forget what a massive step forward this was in the class. This is the 16 valve, so I guess the 1.8. Real step forward from the Sierra. So those moulded plastics, quite good quality plastics, a real step up in terms of interior trim with these cars. You'll see there probably the where there is there is the holder for a pen. Every commercial traveller out on the road needs his pen handy to take a few orders. Double overhead cam. So this is the earlier car. First cars were plated with a K registration, but this is an L, so relatively early. A bit later on in lifespan, the car got sort of the influence, a bit of the influence of the new Edge styling, and you can see it's got the changes to refreshed front of the car, which looks completely different. And also if we step round the rear, the interior's had a bit of quite a makeover as well. Bit of fake wood trim, and the rear lights have also seen some significant changes to help to keep the Mondeo fresh before the next version came in, which helpfully this ST220 is here. And this was the performance derivative. I think it's probably in full performance blue, a lot more safety equipment and a bit more power under the hood. I think 220 horsepower. Again, a step up in terms of interior quality, those bucket Recaro type seats. And a nameplate that's not with us for much longer, because Mondeo is pretty much, as you probably already know, going to be discontinued already by Ford. Production's already stopped some time ago, so maybe another one for the future. So proudly saying I run meth with a fantastic couple of pistons keeping the bonnet open is this Ford Focus ST, and if that wasn't enough, it's got a matching one for a toddler. So Simon, why are you showing us another Ford ST, I hear you cry? Well, just take a look under the bonnet of this one. Fabulous. Somebody has put an incredible amount of dedication to this sort of World War II tribute. We've got Winston Churchill there. We've got quotes, "We shall not flag or fail, we shall go on to the end." Well, indeed it will, I'm sure. What a fabulous car that one is. Superb. Credit due to the owner. Ricky, tell us about this fabulous car that you've managed to create here. What's the story?
So it's a Mark III Focus RS running MSD 400. I'm quite new to the car scene actually. I've only owned sort of performance cars, if you like, for 2 years. I started with an ST. Okay. Then 10 months later bought the RS. So the engine bay, the Winston Churchill themes, all because I'm ex-military. I've lost some friends and things like that, so I wanted to sort of tie in with my military service and a bit of a remembrance to some fallen heroes.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks for talking to us about it.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Now these were a bit of a commercial failure for Ford, sharing some underpinnings with the Mazda MX-6 through Ford's relationship with Mazda at the time, is this Ford Probe. I must try and find out what that colour is. It's absolutely fabulous. This is an R-plated, so I guess that's probably a 1998. Got those trademark pop-up lights when they were still could legally be fitted to a vehicle. Lovely sliding, quite a big sliding roof on that car. In actual fact, metal sliding roof. It's in stunning condition. It's a manual. A lot of these were automatics, and really unusual to see these here today. What a great car. So if you want the wind left in your hair, or in my case what's left of it, here's an XR3i Cabriolet. These were sold, I guess, by the bucket load. I mean, as one way to have a relatively accessible, low-cost, open-top motoring with reliable mechanicals was this Ford version. So built in the Mark III and the Mark IV, and I think subsequently replaced by the Focus Coupe Cabriolet in later years. It's fabulous. Many of these were colour-coded. This one's not, but lovely to see it here today. So still bearing its original dealer plates is this Mark II Fiesta. As I mentioned previously, some slight external modifications over the Mark I, the biggest being the forward hinged bonnet. This one's a 1.4 gear, so with a later 1.4 engine rather than the 1.3, and with the manual pop-up sunroof. Looks an extremely original car, doesn't it? How many of us either learned to drive in these or had one of these? So here's the real deal, a Mark III Escort Series 1 RS in that lovely white trim that most of them were. I think it was rare that there were anything else other than that. I think I've seen a black one before now. Next to it we've got a Cosworth. This is an early one. It's the two-wheel drive one. It's more the four-wheel drive ones that I've seen of late in this lovely burgundy metallic colour. That's a lovely looking car, isn't it? So to support the Mark IV Escort, the Orion was updated. I think in the very late stages of Orion, it lost the name in favour of Escort Sedan. This one's a 93 on a K. It's an SI trim, so I guess that would be with the 105 horsepower contemporary XR3 engine, or maybe a 130, I'm not sure. Interesting feature of this, it's got a wiper on the rear window. What a handy feature that is for a saloon, isn't it? And seldom that you would see that, full stop. And I say it's a Gear SI. Haven't seen one of those for a while, or indeed the one next to it, which is the 1.6 LX, but without the rear wiper. Great. So seldom seen these days Mark I Fiesta vans. So these are really practical vehicles. A lot of these were taken by British Telecom, used by small traders. Not a huge amount of space. If you wanted space, you'd probably go up to the Escort van, but you've certainly got enough for a tradesperson to use. It's got the original dealer stickers by the look of it, Furrows Ford of Shrewsbury, in that fabulous sunburst red. Great to see that here today. So sitting above the XR2i, Ford introduced the Ford Fiesta RS Turbo. So packing about, I think, 130 brake horsepower. They sold, I don't know, a few low thousands, maybe 4,500 or something like this. Not so many of these remain, less than a couple of hundred I've learnt here today. Some features, it's got the bonnet vents. I don't think those are on the XR2i. It's got those unique inserts, the green inserts this time, onto the, I think they were standard cars were blue on the XR2i's. Those very of their time 3-spoke alloys, a familiar looking body kit, and again a relatively rare car these days in this trim. I did drive one back in the day. They were a bit sort of on and off in terms of boost, the early-ish days of turbo, not quite so progressive, but once you got them going they were pretty nippy. So designed by Roy Haynes, who then went on to have a career at BMC or British Leyland, is the Mark II Cortina. Replaced the Mark I after a relatively short life. You can see the much squarer sort of transatlantic influence styling on the car compared with the Mark I's. The Mark I had been a great success, and in actual fact the Mark II just built on that and ran all the way through to the early 70s with the launch of the Coke bottle so-called Coke Bottle Mark III. This is the Lotus Cortina version of it, albeit it's actually badged twin cam, so I'm a bit confused about that. But absolutely fabulous, isn't it? So this was the very successful Ford Cortina 1600E. Now this one's a two-door, so I'm not sure what the story behind this one is, but these were the executive version, so-called, gave them the E, and they had sports tuned suspension, I think lifted from the GT, but a much more upmarket interior. This one looks like it's been uprated even more, so it's got the wood dash and those cloth stroke maybe leather seats, I'm not quite sure. We'll maybe try and find out a bit more about this car. Looks fabulous in this gold, doesn't it? Again, a colour that's seldom seen these days. Those period spot lamps on the front. Beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful. So a Mark II Ford Cortina, but this time it's a Lotus, but in actual fact it's a convertible, so it looks like one of the Crayford convertibles that were built. I think the Lotus versions must have been built in relatively small numbers. It's in stunning condition. You can see what a practical, proper 4 or 5 seater convertible these cars were. You've got the additional dials there that you'd have on the Lotus, that woodrim steering wheel, that sort of umbrella type handbrake. What a great car. Beautiful. Now, of 2,984 Mark I Ford Cortina Lotus to be produced, just 64 were produced in this special equipment guise with modified camshafts, I think larger valves. Now this pushed the power output from a not bad 105 horsepower to 115, making this car pretty quick given that it probably weighs less than a ton. You wouldn't know that apart from the fact there's some information the owners helpfully left on the vehicle. Looks pretty much from the outside, externally, like a standard Ford Cortina Mark I, but one truly special car, isn't it? Fabulous. So Alan Mann Racing down in Byfleet in Surrey very famously ran these gold and red coloured Escorts Cortinas, number of different vehicles on behalf, I think, of Ford, a semi-factory team in period. Many of these cars, not necessarily original cars, have got the Alan Mann livery, but lovely to see this Ford Cortina Lotus Mark I here today. So thanks again for watching Lot 76 Cars at the Ford Nationals event at the British Motor Museum at Gaydon. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications to be informed of my latest video, and once again, thanks for watching.